Welcome listeners, today we'll be discussing the series Walker Independence. The series was first released on the CW on October 6th of 2022 and currently has one season with 13 episodes. Walker Independent is set in the late 1800s as we follow Abby Walker. The night before she arriving in a new town, her husband is killed. Upon arriving in this new town, Abby gets to know the locals and scrams a team full of new friends to help take down the one she believes killed her husband. There are 7 main characters we follow throughout the series. I'm going to start with Abby, as she is our main female protagonist and the main one we follow throughout the series. I really liked Abby. She was a very strong and independent character. We are first introduced to her when she is traveling to a new town with her husband. The night before they arrive, however, their camp is attacked and her husband is killed. Abby would have also been killed if it wasn't for Callian, a local tribe member that found her body and brought her back into his tribe. After saving her, he tells her about the small town Independence not too far from there, and that he actually knows the deputy sheriff, Augustus, that might be able to help in figuring out who killed her husband. Upon arriving in that town, she tracks down Augustus and also meets the new sheriff, Tom, who she believes is the one that killed her husband. Abby then gathers up Callian and another straggler she met in the town, Hewitt, form a team and find evidence on who killed Liam. Whilst also in the town, Abby runs into a kind dancer from the hotel, Kate, that offers her a place to stay. She also runs into a nice young man, Kai, who offers her new clothing and food when she first arrives in town. These two also become very important throughout the story and eventually find their way into the group Abby has created. The more Abby investigates Liam's murder and Tom, she comes to learn more and more about the Davidsons and what their family is capable of. She learns that they are trying to buy land. She finds out that the old sheriff of the town was actually forced out of his position in order to give it to Tom, and she starts to learn about Liam's involvement with the Davidsons. Despite all the craziness that came with uncovering Liam's murder, she still found herself falling in love with the town and the people in it, and she found herself doing a lot for the town and the people in it. For example, she becomes a real friend and companion to Kate, which I'll get more into later. She helped 2 local sisters save their shop. She helped Kai when he was dealing with troubles from his past, and she helped Callian when he was on trial for murder. As for Abby as a character, we never really learn much about her past and her family. We get one episode that we introduce to her sister. From her sister, we learn that Abby comes from a rich, snobby family that she wants nothing to do with anymore. Abby immediately puts her sister into this category due to the fact that she decided to stay and live in their world. I think she's a bit harsh on her sister. Just because she decided to live one way does not mean that she has become someone else. All in all, they make up, and she even helps Abby in faking her own death as they need to convince Tom that this mysterious wife of Liam Collins is truly dead. But yeah, this is all we really need to know about Abby as a character. I will go into more of her relationships on the show in the next part. Next, let's talk about Tom Davidson, the Sheriff of Independence. I'm going to say that he is our main male lead just because everything that happens in the show is involved around him or leads back to him one way or another. He is meant to be our main bad guy of the show, as you will, but I kind of like him. He's not innocent, don't get me wrong, he is not innocent by far, but I just don't think he's as bad of a character as they make him out to be, or as much of a bad guy as they make him seem to be. To me, his character had a lot of depth and growth. I found it really interesting finding out about his backstory and where he came from, and a lot to do with his family. So yeah, some of the reasons why I like him or found his character very interesting and redeemable would include his backstory. So we eventually come to find out that Tom was in love before and was planning on settling down. However, all that changed due to his family. We find out that the family actually drew her away due to the fact that she wasn't as wealthy as they were and didn't believe that she was deserving enough. Find out that the father had a big say in what goes on in the family. Now, we don't get to learn much about him, but we do know that he is this very mysterious, powerful, and very dangerous person that has a lot of control over those around him. By learning about his past with this other woman, it comes to symbolize that Tom just doesn't really like the lifestyle that he's living and doesn't necessarily want to do what he is being made to do. After losing this woman, things only get worse for Tom as he is dragged into his brother's schemes. And we learned that they had a bit of a dark past together where something went wrong and Tom was forced to kill a young kid in order to save his brother. This resulted in him getting sent into a mental ward. This was a very low and dark point in Tom's life. He expresses how hard it was for him in there, how he saw things he didn't want to see and experience things he never wished to experience. He found himself going crazy. So when his aunt offered him an opportunity to get out, he took it. With that, however, he has felt like he has been in debt to her ever since. Due to feeling this way, he participates in a lot of her schemes, whether he deems them right or wrong. Overall, his brother is straight up psycho. When it comes down to it, he's always getting himself into trouble or causing trouble. He tries to have Tom killed, for God's sakes. Like, what the hell? Trying to have your own brother killed out of like jealousy and power is just ridiculous. It's just crazy. And like, yeah, eventually Tom gets a hold of him and things start getting really messy from there. But like, even I would have a serious conversation with one of my siblings if I found out they were trying to fucking kill me. But yeah, instead of calling it even, instead of being all like, okay, brother, I killed you, you tried to kill me, let's just call it even. No, he comes back for more and ends up capturing Tom and continues to brutally torture him. I just want to take a minute to talk about this scene too. First of all, that's highly intense. I was like totally on the other of my seat when I was watching it. It was like crazy how brutally he was willing to just go all out psycho and on his brother, no less. I also hate it when Augustus walks in and finds Tom literally strapped to a chair, being tortured by his brother, no less, and he just goes straight after Tom. It makes no sense to me. Like, Augustus can hear painful screaming from the fields as he's walking into the barn. As he gets into the barn, he sees Tom strapped to a chair with his brother torturing him. And after he gets his brother out of the way, they both see each other, and of course they go for their guns and they shoot, and I think Augustus gets shot, and I think the brother gets shot as well. And Tom's able to straggle his way out of the chair. And the second that he gets to Augustus to help him up and be like, quick, we gotta get out of here, the first thing Augustus does is like handcuff him. And then I'm like, what the hell? Like, I understand that Tom isn't innocent or definitely needs to pay for his crimes and all that kind of stuff, but after you walk in on him after being literally strapped to and tortured by his own brother, the first instinct you have is to arrest him. It's like what's going on in his brother's head first before you take care of Tom. Like, I think there's a bigger issue here, mate. Yeah, I just wanted to point that out. It made me a little mad when I saw it. But anyway, due to Augustus doing this, it gives Tom's brother time to react and escape and puts Augustus in more harm's way. This also takes us to the scene where Tom ends up killing his brother. I definitely found this scene very intense watching it. I was not expecting him to have to kill his brother, but at the same time, it made sense. It's not like we really cared about the brother that much. He was a bad person anyway and was always causing trouble. And I just think he would have died anyway. I mean, they were in the middle of the field. There were no horses around. It would have taken him way too long to like drag him to the town and even having a chance of saving him. I think it was still pretty crazy how he full on shot his brother, but I think regardless of anything, his brother most likely wouldn't have made it and was dead anyway. Through these, we come to see how lonely of a character Tom really is. The first time he is stabbed, which we later come to find out was from his brother, he thanks Abby for saving him and tells her that in all the time that he was in the hospital, no one came to visit him, not his family, not a friend, anyone. This is why he thanks Abby for not only helping him, but caring enough for whether or not he lived or died. And this is really sad looking at it from an audience perspective, knowing that Abby's the one that's like gathered this entire group that are trying to like kill him. He's all like to Abby, thank you for being the only person that cares whether I'm alive or dead. And you're sitting there as an audience member being like, oh God, if only you knew. Other redeeming qualities I found about his character would include how he handled the hotel with Kate. So the hotel thing is there is a main club, hotel and bar in the middle of Independence. Kate works there as a dancer. It is the main contraction of and hangout of Independence, and of course the Davidsons wanted their name on it and take claim over it. So in this episode we get introduced to Tom's auntie that comes to town. While she is there, she is poisoning the old owner of this hotel / club and is trying to force him to sell and move out. Obviously she wants him to sell to Tom so that he is now running the hotel. I don't think it's fair that Tom gets blamed for the poisoning of this guy that later on they accused Tom that he was the one that poisoned him and he was the one that drove him out and it was all his fault. Whereas I think Tom knew about it for sure and probably knew what his auntie was doing and knew what was going to happen and knew the plan, but I don't think that changed anything. I think the auntie would have still been there and would have still done anything regardless if Tom agreed with it or not. Now the reason that I think that this is a redeeming example for Tom is that even though the hotel was signed to him and he was the official owner now, he didn't take on that responsibility. He still left it to Kate and knew that she knew what she was doing. She knew how to run it. She'd already been there for years. And he thought, you know what, what's the point? I might as well let her do what she already knows. The place is already a popular place in town already. So he keeps Kate there to keep the hotel exactly the same. Another reason we later come to find out about why Tom kept Kate on, he found out that one of her old partners in crime was going to kill her now that he had heard that she was no longer in charge of the hotel. In order to save her life, Tom kept her on at the hotel as a job so she would seem valuable and useful still, essentially saving her life. I even comes to Tom for help at one point and asking him to help with people from his past that have now found him here in Independence. Tom agrees to help and sets up a special meeting for Kai. He does this out of selflessness for Kai, as we see that by doing and setting up this meeting, it has no benefits for him or his family. It has no benefits for the town or the railroads and any sort of plan that he has in motion. He's purely doing this just to help Kai out as he asks. Even when the group comes to him, when Abby and Hewitt and Kate and stuff come to him later on and ask, we want to be a part of this meeting that you're setting up and we want to help Kai as well, he instantly agrees and he's like, well, if Kai wants you to help, then you're more than happy to help. I didn't even think Tom even asked Kai really what was going on. He just heard, oh, you need help and people are trying to come for you in this town. Sure, I'll help, and therefore agreed. Tom also allowed Callie in to go on trial when he was wrongfully accused, rather than just sending him straight to hanging. He also allowed Abby to place a meeting with the railroad company and talk them into buying different lands. Tom proved that he wasn't as bad as they all thought he was. They did actually come to care for the town and the people in it. The first season is just filled with little breadcrumbs of him doing subtle acts for the town or the people, even if they don't really realize it, even if they think it's something bad, when it's like not. Like Kate thought that he was taking over the hotel, when it's like, yeah, he was, but at the same time he was also convincing them to keep her in there as well and like saving her life in the process. So he wasn't just full on, I'm doing this for me and using the town for his own selfish reasons all the time. But however, in saying this, I do know that he was still a resident bad guy and he was not all sunshine and rainbows throughout the series for sure. So I will talk about some of his not so great choices and decisions that made us believe, yeah, you kind of are the bad guy. First time that we get to see Tom act as our bad guy is when he finds the note about Liam's dead body and tries to frame it on someone else. The fact that Tom was able to find someone to take the fall for Liam's death and be able to frame them so quickly and thoroughly and have people believe it just proves how smart of a person he really is, how he's able to quickly come up with a solution and make it so believable that he would have no backlash onto himself and no questions asked afterwards. It proves how he is willing to do anything and everything to keep his name out of the spotlight and to ensure that he doesn't go down for any of his mistakes. In one episode, we get to meet one of Tom's old friends comes to Independence looking for him. From this old friend, we get to learn a little bit more about Tom's past and some of the bad decisions he made and the sort of crowd that he ran in before settling down in Independence as the sheriff. So Tom and a group of guys along with this old friend that comes to visit him used to steal cattle from outback areas and drive them off and illegally sell them for money. By doing this and hanging around this old crowd is eventually what gets him into the mischief with his brother later on, where he then gets mixed into the games with his brother, therefore leading him to this accident that landed him in a mental institute that then causes him to feel like he is in debt to his auntie and his family, which then comes full circle with what he is doing now in Independence. This mysterious friend of Tom's from the past has not changed, however, as when he arrives in the town, it is obvious that he is still running from something and someone. With Tom in his new position as sheriff, it makes it harder for him to help and constantly excuse his friend's behavior. Due to this, his friend goes a little bit wild and causes a bit of chaos while he's in there in town by acting very dodge, spreading rumors, and even starting a gunfight in the middle of the hotel while taking Abby hostage. We find out that Liam was the one that approached the Davidsons about taking a job as sheriff in Independence. When the Davidsons caught wind of Liam becoming soft and May not wanting to comply with their way of things, Tom's auntie asks Tom to not only take care of Liam, but also take over the position as sheriff of Independence. Feeling like he has the obligation to his auntie, Tom agrees, complies to the auntie's wishes by killing Liam's family and taking over the new position as sheriff as Independent. We get one last look at how big and powerful Tom's family really is towards the end of the show when Tom is finally reprimanded for all of his mistakes. I also just want to take a second to acknowledge how crazy the last ending scene was when they were trying to capture Tom, how the whole town was shooting at him. I found it very impressive how he was able to somehow duck and roll his way out of there despite the entire town shooting at him. But anyway, as I said, he is captured and heading on trial. His sentence doesn't last long, however, as the last we see of Tom is that he has been broken out and is sitting by a campfire with none other than his long-lost father. Not only is this a key point in Tom's story and the Davidsons' family, it is also a big example of how powerful his family really is and the access that they have with this power. Tom was arrested at Independence, which is a small town built in the middle of nowhere. Yet his family was still able to track him down and break him out in no time at all. For example, let's say that Tom was arrested at 3 in the afternoon. By the time 7 came around, he was sitting by a campfire roasting marshmallows with his dad. This means that it only took the Davison family 5 hours to find out that Tom had not only been arrested and sentenced, but where he was heading and when. In this short time, the Davison family was not only able to organize a plan, but execute it within this small amount of time, thus for proving how powerful and deep the Davidson family really run. So overall, yes, Tom's character wasn't innocent. He did make some very bad mistakes and still did some very bad things. He still lied, he still killed, he still manipulated and allowed certain things to happen. So no, he wasn't innocent by far. However, I just don't think he was as bad as they wanted him to be. I felt like he had a lot more redeeming qualities about him than he did negative. I felt that there was a lot of depth and emotion to his character, especially finding out his backstory and where he came from and the different things that led up to him being where he is now and doing what he is doing now. I'm not saying that he's the best character, but I'm also not saying that he is the worst character. I just feel like he had a lot of redemption arc put into his character, and I would personally love to see in a season 2 that he does get more of a redemption arc and story into his character. I feel like there is so much potential for a comeback and for a build and to see some development in his character. I think it would be really interesting and a really fun dynamic to throw in there. It'd be really disappointing to see them waste the potential that they have set up with his character on just making him the bad guy where he just continues to do bad things and then blah 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 dies in the end anyway. I feel like the story will be a lot more better and has a lot more potential if they write in more of a redemption story for him. I feel there is a lot of potential and success in adding that to his character. But that's just my opinion. What did you guys think? Did you like Tom? Did you not like Tom? Do you think he's just the bad guy? Or would you like to see some redemption arc in his character moving forward as well? Let's discuss. Alright, so our next character is Kate. Kate was a lot of fun to watch every time she was on screen. She was just very lovable and friendly. She was an instant friend to anyone that she came across, and she was always doing things for others and looking out for others rather than just herself. Kate was the first one to introduce herself to Abby and introduce Abby to the town and offer her a place to stay despite knowing who she was or where she came from. This isn't the only act of kindness we see when first meeting Kate. We also see her generosity when she is told by the manager of the hotel that their paychecks cannot be paid. Kate takes it upon herself to split her paycheck with the other women at the club. She feels these girls deserve it and also knows them personally. This gives us an instant connection to her character as she comes off as sweet and kind. By doing this, she helps one pay her rent for the week and she helps another save up for a dress for her daughter. Diving deeper into her character, we learn that she came to the town after a bad past experience. When she first arrives in the town, she feels at home and stumbles upon this hotel pretty much straight away. Upon going in there, she instantly confronts the owner about how he's treating his workers, and he is so impressed by her confidence and the way that she sees things that he instantly hires her. Not only just a dancer and choreographer, but also as his right-hand man. Upon getting to know more about her character, we find out that she is not only just a choreographer, dancer, and helping hand, but we also learn that she is secretly a Pinkerton agent there to sell secrets for money. She's not an agent for much longer when she finds out that her partner in the bureau is actually working with the Davidson family. As soon as she finds out this information, cuts ties completely. She is, however, still forced to work under Tom at the bar. However, this doesn't seem as bad as she still keeps the exact same position as she did beforehand, and everything still stays the same and nothing really changes. Overall, Kate is just someone that always seems to be there. She is always there to help with the next struggle or clue that is discovered. She's always the person on the side coming up with the good ideas or willing to help out whenever there is a complication. We see her do this multiple times with members of the group as she, like I stated, she helps Abby first when she moves into town. She helps Abby save a local store. She helps Abby break into Tom's house and find more information about him and what went on with Liam, why he was killed, why he was offered the job. She is the first one to confront Abby about Liam not being an innocent in all of this. She helps Kai when his past comes back to haunt him. She also helps Lucia win a poker game in order to save her land. All of this hard work and helping does pay off in the end, as when Tom is finally arrested, Kate is the one that gets ownership over the hotel. Another big draw towards Kate as a character is the way that she's able to stand up to people that have made mistakes and confront them about their own mistakes. She confronts Kai when he lied to her about his past. She stands up for Callian before she even knew him, despite what others may think. She's not afraid to stand up to Hewitt and put him in his place when needed. She is never shy or intimidated when it comes to talking to Tom or confronting him about decisions he made for the town or the hotel. Kate is also the first and sort of only one to confront Abby about her relationship with Tom. She's not afraid to express how she feels about it and how she finds it wrong and why it affects her so much. Overall, Kate is a fun, easy, outgoing character that all audiences are drawn to. She's always either in the background ready to help a lending hand or is standing by with advice about the right thing to do, making her pretty cool. So I really liked Kate as a character. What did you reckon? Did you like her? Did you not like her? Was there anything that I missed discussing? Always share your thoughts. Hewitt is our charming, fun-loving, down-to-earth companion throughout the show. He is one of the only few people originally from Independence. His mother was a thief, therefore passing her skills on to Hewitt as a kid. After losing his mum at such a young age, he continues his life as a robber, upgrading from pickpocketing and stealing from banks that he used to as a kid to stealing from trains. He still wears his signature hat that he got from his mum when he was a kid. When we are first introduced to Hewitt, he is coming to Independence to steal from one of their banks as he hears that they are holding quite a lot of cash. However, after running into Abby and getting dragged into her scheme and joining her group, he comes to like the town and care about it as well as the people in it. He helps Kate and Abby break into Tom's house. Also learns to trust and make new friends, such as Callian, which I'll go more into later. Whilst being back in the town, Hewitt reunites with an old flame, Lucia, and her family, as they are old friends of his father. Unfortunately, not long after reuniting with Lucia and her family, her father, Francis, is killed one night. Everyone blames Callian, but Hewitt was the one that found out the truth. Due to the unfortunate death of Lucia's father, Hewitt finally steps up and starts taking some real responsibility. He agrees to stay and help Lucia and her family out on their farm so that they do not become bankrupt and lose everything. This is a huge turning point in Hewitt's character, as he is always known for only ever passing through and putting on his charming playboy act. He goes to work on this ranch, however, he is forced to step up as the man of the house and finally take some responsibility for more than just himself. Although he takes on this responsibility wholeheartedly with no questions asked, it is not long before he starts feeling out of place and less like himself. He is more of a social worker rather than a physical worker. Lucia and the family see this as well and force him back into the town so that he can start getting back into his natural element and honestly leave them alone. They loved him and his help. They also felt that he needed to take some time away from the ranch for a while and start dealing with more of his social affairs. This comes in handy later when Lucia is running low on money and is being forced to sell her ranch. Hewitt jumps in straight away along with Kate in order to help save the ranch. They do this by setting up a poker game. Kate and Hewitt are running in cahoots in order to let Lucia win. Hewitt's character continues to grow when he runs into a young boy traveling through the town looking for his father. Hewitt agrees to help, and more he learns about this mysterious father, the more and more he gets scared that it might actually be him. This kid looks about the same and has a few characteristics that are the same. The kid assures him, however, that he is not his father, as he would know, and would have told him sooner. This little misunderstanding, however, does not go over Hewitt's head and actually gets him thinking about the future and kids himself. He finds himself debating about it a few times and even thinking about the prospect of having kids or what it would be like to have kids. Hewitt is a very funny character and a fresh of breath air to everyone on the show, as he is always ready to bring his comedic element to any situation. Find yourself laughing at the randomness of times when he was around. I was personally surprised that he did not have a bigger role in the show than I believed that he would. I thought that he would be beside Abby pretty much every step of the way, solving every single clue. However, that was not the case. He took on a lot of his own cases and was going through his own things while Abby was investigating Tom. He still was very much part of the group, however, and did still help out whenever was needed. He was still focused on the main priority of getting rid of Tom. Hopes for season 2. I'd like to see more Hewitt storylines coming into season 2. He was a very big character at the beginning of the show, and although when it went on he still was very relevant, his scenes became less and less. I would like to see more of him and more about him. It's going to be really interesting seeing more of his character change and build, see if he becomes more of a farm family man, see what his views are towards kids now, if he wants them, if it's something that he's seriously thinking about. It'll be interesting to get more clarification on his and Lucia's relationship. They were very on and off, and it was hard to tell whether or not they were genuinely together or if he was there more as like a family friend. To get an official status on the relationship, whether or not they are officially dating, trying to make it work, or if they were just an old fling that has now sizzled out into a friendship. I'm sure whatever they bring up for his character will be great, as long as they keep his funny and charming personality intact. We'll all enjoy it. So what did you think? Did you like Hewitt? Did you not like Hewitt? Did you find him charming and funny, or did you find him quite immature and annoying? I personally found him a lot of fun, but I would love to see your opinions. Next, we have the very kind-hearted and loyal Callian. Callian is a native to the land, but also helps out in the town as their tracker. This is thanks to his old friend and town deputy, Augustus. Callian helps track down young kids that have gone missing, adults that have gone missing, and criminals that are trying to escape. We are first introduced to Callian when he saves Abby's life after she has been shot. He takes her to his village where they help save her life. He helps direct her towards independence and introduces her to his friend Augustus. Due to Callian saving Abby's life and Abby seeing how dedicated he is to the town, he lets him into the group and on their plans on taking down the new sheriff. And although joining Abby's group and taking down the sheriff may seem like a good thing, it soon has its own backlash on Callian as he starts having trouble with his own clan and where he belongs. His clan believes that he is spending too much time in the town and is splitting his priorities. This causes some identity issues for Callian as he cares about the town and his friends in there, but also feels the responsibility to his clan as they are his family. Callian has trouble struggling with these two parallels as he feels that he belongs to both places and doesn't want to have to choose between either. Things only get worse for Callian and where he belongs when one of the elders of his clan becomes sick and passes away. Before he does, though, he names Callian as his successor and wants him to become the new chief. Clan, however, does not agree with this decision and feel like he is too split and focused on the town. Due to this, the other elders then vote in another suitor that they believe is eligible to become chief. When this new chief gets wind of the businesses in the railroad company killing out other clans in order to take their land, he becomes very trigger hungry and wants to start a war. Callian is very skeptical about this decision, as he has seen and been in war himself and knows that it only ever brings more harm than good. When hearing about Callian's backstory, we learn that when he was just a young boy, his village was attacked and burnt down. He had a young sister that went missing on the night of the attack. To him, she has been missing for over 15 years. Callian and his sister were very close when they were younger, and Callian felt like he had a real responsibility to her as his brother. So when she went missing, he spent his whole life looking for her. This is why he became a trucker in the first place and why he became so good at it. Because even though he couldn't find his own sister, he found hope in being able to find other people's missing loved ones. His sister's spirit stayed with him and guided him throughout his years of trekking. She would direct him towards clues and guide him in the right direction. This is how he found Abby. His sister's spirit appeared to him and he followed her, which led him to Abby and therefore saving her life. A massive twist in the overall show and for Callian's character is when we learn that Augustus has actually found and tracked down Callian's long-lost missing sister. After 15 years with his sister being missing, Callian takes this tip and decides to check it out in the hopes that it might be real. When it does end up being real and he does indeed find his sister alive and healthy and all grown up, he doesn't quite know how to take it. Of course, he's excited and relieved that he's finally been able to find his sister and to see that she is not only happy and healthy but has also started a family. At the same time, however, he is also very taken back because he has lived with a version of his sister in his head when she was still just a little girl and about how close they were. It strikes him seeing her so grown up and in her own element. It's sad to say that he even feels a bit of a disconnect towards his sister as he doesn't actually know who she is anymore and can see that she has grown up completely different than how he had. As he grew up as a native and spoke their language and continued to live their ways, she was brought up in more of a town environment. She does not remember the language of the native. Callian confronting his sister is a big emotional turning point for him and his character as he is finally learning and letting go of a past that he has held on to for 15 years. He has to learn how to accept that his sister isn't the person he once knew, and he needs to overcome and move on from the sister he once knew. He spent his whole life and whole career living in the past. Now that he knows the truth, he must accept and move on to a new. He does this by taking time away from the town and getting back more involved with his clan. Callian spends a lot of time working through emotional obstacles throughout the series, whether it be with the town, his clan, or with himself. Despite everything he goes through, he is still able to find the right thing to do for the situation. Callian is loyal to a fault and will be there whenever you ask. If you are there for him, he will be there for you. This was one of the main things that drew me towards him as a character. I loved him overall, but his loyalty to his friends and to his clan is what stuck out most of all. Despite growing up in a world where his people are constantly being overrun and attacked, Callian still gives everyone an equal chance no matter who they are or where they are from. He judges a person about how they hold themselves and how they portray themselves towards others and him rather than where they actually come from or who they actually are. This is a beautiful trait to have, especially for Callian, despite everything that he has been through and the wars that he has had to see, experience, and even be a part of. If you are his friend and are loyal to him, he will be loyal to you. This is shown multiple times as Abby comes to trust him after he saves her life. Callian becomes a very loyal and useful friend to Abby and vice versa. He has an instant loyalty and respect for Kate as when they are first introduced, he is at her hotel bar trying to order a drink. Due to the fact that he is a native, not everyone in the town likes him. Therefore, the bartender ignores him and doesn't serve him his drink. Kate, however, is having none of this and instantly gets up the bartender to make him a drink, reminding them that he is just as much a part of this town as anyone else. Due to receiving this recognition from Kate, even after not knowing each other at all, he comes to have a respect for her due to the way that she stood up for him despite not knowing anything about who he was. Hewitt and Callian get off at the wrong foot at first. However, the more time that they spend together, the more that they come to like each other and even form a friendship, and may I even say a bromance, which I will get into a little later. Overall, Callian is a great character, as he always seems to be doing the right thing and making the right decisions. He is loyal to a fault and will stand by his friends through anything. Next up is Augustus. Augustus is the deputy sheriff of Independence and a longtime friend of Callian's. Augustus once had a wife that passed away. Augustus then went and fought in the war. When fighting in the war, this is how he met Callian. Callian then introduced him to the town of Independence that later on he settled into and is now the deputy sheriff. When Tom is appointed the new sheriff, both of them must learn to adjust and find their footing with each other. They start off on the wrong foot, but eventually learn how to work together. This doesn't last long, however, as Callian constantly trying to convince Augustus that Tom is not who he says he is. Not wanting to believe it, but also keeping an open mind, Augustus decides to investigate Liam's death to find out the truth. The more and more he investigates, the more he finds that things don't add up and everything seems to lead back to the Davidsons one way or another. Knowing things can't continue this way and not wanting to see his town be destroyed and used, Augustus joins the group and helps the rest of them in taking down Tom and the Davidsons. Augustus is a very easy character to like. I enjoyed how he was very open-minded and tried to look at all angles of any situation. If all evidence pointed to one person, Augustus still wanted to look at every other possibility before ruling out the case. I liked this about Augustus as it showed that he is a genuine, honest, and fair person. Kai is the very cute, generous, and kind local of Independence. He owns his own restaurant and laundromat. He helps out Abby when she first arrives in town by offering her clothes and food out of pure genuineness. He offers up his restaurant as a secret hideout to Abby and the group. He even offers to help out Kate when he learns that they are running low on money and can't afford costume. He agrees to sew and make these costumes without any cost. It's amazing to see how pure and genuine Kai really is, especially when learning about his difficulties from his past. Kai used to be part of this company called the Trident, where he was forced to work on the railroads as a slave. In order to survive, he had to learn how to fight and defend himself. Kai used to have a lover, but on the night that they tried to escape the Trident, she was captured and killed. Or so he thought. One day, when his old lover miraculously appears in Independence, Kai of course is overjoyed and wants to know everything. They talk about running away together like they planned so long ago. Things start to get complicated though when his ex-lover starts asking about money he stole that night that they tried to run away from the Triton. He tries to brush it off, but the more she pushes, the more he starts to feel that something just isn't quite right. So Kai confronts his ex and finds out that she is working with the Triton. Understandably heartbroken and worried that he will bring his past into the town of Independence, Kai debates whether or not to leave. But after seeing Kate and running into Hewitt, who tells him that he will help with anything that he needs, Kai ultimately decides to stay and face his past. With the help of the group, Kai is finally able to overcome his past and truly be free. I loved Kai because of his genuine generosity towards anyone he came in contact with. He was always willing to do things for others, no questions asked, just out of the pure kindness of his heart. It is amazing to see how he is still genuine and kind even after all the trauma he went through with his past and his ex-lover. I guess that's why I love him so much, because despite everything, he still stays true to himself and those around him. Now onto our next section, relationship between characters. I first like to start with Kai and Tom's relationship, as they had a very small yet important relationship throughout the show. Kai and Tom's relationship first starts one night when Kai is getting a visit from his past and Tom ends up to stumble in and help him. From there, Tom tells him that because I've helped you out here, I would like you to help me out later and we can call it an alliance. When this happened, I did think that it was going to be bad news for Kai. I thought he was going to use the fact that he helped Kai against him as blackmail and make him do something later on in the show, which just didn't really happen. It never really came back around. It actually ended up going the other way, is instead of Tom coming to Kai and being like, oh, you have to do this for me, Kai was the one that actually went to Tom and asked him for help when things started to get bad in his past. Kai asks for Tom's help when he realizes that his past, the Trident, have catched up on him and have found him in the small town of Independence. He needs to create a meeting with the head of the Trident in order to negotiate his freedom. Kai comes to Tom specifically asking him if he can help set up this meeting, as Tom has the connections and the authority to hold such a meeting. Tom agrees to help Kai set up this meeting, as he realizes that not only does Kai need help with his past, but the people from his past are also posing a threat to Independence. So by setting up this meeting and sorting it all out, not only is he helping Kai, but he is also saving Independence from being taken over. Tom sticks to the arrangements and agreements discussed at the meeting. He sticks with what Kai wants and doesn't agree to anything without Kai's final say-so. I found Kai and Tom's relationship to be very interesting, specifically from this one interaction. As I stated earlier on, you would expect that Tom would be the one holding a bargain over Kai's head, when really it ended up being the other way around. It was Kai that first asked for help from Tom. So it was really interesting to see that dynamic between the two and see the relationship that comes out of it. It was really interesting to see how Tom actually stuck to the agreements of the meeting and didn't do anything out of the ordinary or to benefit himself. He stuck strictly to what Kai wanted. I don't believe much will come out of their relationship or really build in any later seasons. I just thought it was interesting to mention how it ended up being a Kai asking Tom for something rather than Tom asking Kai for something sort of relationship. So I thought I'd just mention it. Next relationship on the show is Kai and Kate. They had a very wholesome and cute relationship throughout the show. Next relationship on the show is Kai and Kate. They had a very wholesome and cute relationship throughout the show. I knew when Kai first saw Kate dancing that he instantly liked her and that they were going to have a very cute dynamic on the show, as he is very kind but shy and she is very open and loudly spoken and outgoing. Kai is one of the first people Kate meets when first arriving in Independence. They instantly had a connection and Kai started crushing on her basically straight away. A friendship forms between them straight away, and they both seem to be in each other's corners when they need it the most. When the hotel starts to have money troubles and Kate and the other dancers cannot afford for new costumes and dresses, Kai offers to help, no questions asked, in making the girls new dresses. He solely does this out of the kindness of his heart and asks for no pay in return, as he understands what it's like to go without. Kind gestures don't stop there, however, is when Kate finds out that Kai is having trouble with his past. She jumps in to help, despite what it may entail. When things start to heat up due to Kai's past, Kate is the only one that speaks honestly about how she feels. She's the first one to express her concerns on his old lover coming to town and how some things may not be right with her. Although Kai is first upset by these accusations made from Kate, it does get him thinking, and the more that he pays attention, the more that he realizes things are not adding up. When Kai starts openly questioning these accusations, it does not take long before it is revealed that Kate was right and things are not what they seem. Once things are officially taken care of from Kai's past, Kate and Kai have their first ever fight. When the group was still trying to take care of Kai and his past, Kate witnessed some of Kai's fighting skills. Got a first-hand look at what Kai is truly capable of when pushed into a corner. The skills that Kai displayed came as a real shock to Kate and might have even frightened her a little bit, as she is so used of Kai's quiet, kind demeanor, to then see him kill 2 or 3 people with his bare hands. But most of all, she is upset because he lied and kept his past a secret. I do understand where Kate is coming from, as this was a shock to watch for audience. However, I do believe it is a bit hypocritical of her, as it was not Kai's job to spill his past story to everyone in town. Kai wanted to move to this place for a fresh start and leave his past where it was. This is exactly what Kai tells Kate when she does get upset about his past. He understands why she may be upset and shocked after what she saw, but he also explains to her that it wasn't something he was ever hoping to relive, and that she needs to remember that she is also keeping her own secrets. Kai then reveals that he has known the whole time that she has been a Pinkerton agent. This comes as an initial shock to Kate, as she has no idea how Kai figured it out. She also takes a step back and realizes that she may have been a little bit harsh and hypocritical in judging Kai from what she initially saw. She comes to understand and accept that the past needs to be left where it is, and they need to start in a new beginning, which is what they do. Kate and Kai agree to leave all their secrets and history in the past and start fresh, which is what they do together. With Kate being the new owner of the hotel, she hires Kai as her costume maker, and they start a business together. Abby and Kate's relationship is the only female friendship on this show. Their relationship kickstarts basically straight away. Abby has only really just arrived in town when Kate already starts introducing herself, offering Abby a place to stay and a general introduction of the overall town. Abby at first is skeptical, but knowing that she needs to stick around in the town and might as well make some friends along the way, she takes Kate up on her offer for a place to stay, and that's how the two become roomies. The two form an almost instant bond. It doesn't take long for them to start swapping stories about their hopes and dreams, their families, and Abby's real identity. After Abby tells Kate everything about who she is and what she suspects Tom did, she realizes that she can trust Kate and therefore brings her into the group. Kate instantly agrees, as she has the same feelings about Tom as they do, and feels very passionate about protecting the town and its people. Now that the two are working together and towards the same goal, they help each other out on different things, like any update on any information. They both break into Tom's house to look for evidence and clues. And Kate helps Abby fake her identity when her sister comes to town. The two have their first argument when Kate discovers Abby and Tom's relationship. Understandably, Kate is very upset and overall confused about it all, which is understandable because as far as Kate knew, Abby was the one that believed that Tom killed her husband, and Abby was also the one that gathered together this group in order to take down Tom in the first place. And stumbling upon them in a relationship doesn't come as a good surprise. Kate eventually confronts Abby about what she saw, and they eventually do talk it out. And although Kate doesn't agree with Abby's decision, they come to an understanding and trust with each other as long as they both agree there are no more secrets between them. Abby and Hewitt have a few good interactions throughout the beginning of the show and slowly sizzle out as the season goes on. I still think it's worth mentioning their friendship, as it is still very relevant and holds some key moments for our characters. To first meet when Abby literally runs into Hewitt as she's making her way through the town. Hewitt comes stumbling out of the bar drunk and offers up a flirtatious attitude towards Abby, which she is having none of. Starting off on the wrong foot, the two part ways, only to meet up later when Hewitt is trying to rob one of the banks of Independence. It goes terribly wrong, and he takes Abby as a fake hostage. Due to the fact that Abby is the only one that can identify him as the bank robber, she blackmails him into helping her with her schemes to take down Tom. Hewitt has no choice but to agree and soon becomes motivated the more he finds out about what Tom has done. The two try and leave a tip for Augustus about Liam's body, but it fails when Tom ends up finding the note instead. The two don't stop there, however, as Hewitt helps Abby and Kate break into Tom's house. They also take a trip to find the judge who signed off on Tom becoming sheriff. Hewitt is a good friend to Abby, as he is always putting a smile on her face and getting her to loosen up. When Hewitt and Abby take this trip to find the judge that signed off on Tom being the new sheriff of Independence, Hewitt takes this time to relax and have some fun. Abby, however, is still focused on her goal and wants to get there as soon as possible. Hewitt, however, is having none of that and convinces Abby to loosen up a bit and gets her to stop and realize that it's okay sometimes to just have a little fun. At first, Abby is not quite sure, but after thinking it over for a while, she thinks that it might be the best thing to do. So when they come across a lake upon their travels, it's Abby is the one that is spontaneously wanting to take a swim. By doing this, Hewitt not only gets her to loosen up, but also relax and just enjoy the moment. Hewitt and Abby's friendship, specifically this moment, is worth mentioning, as Hewitt is the only person that is able to get Abby out of her own head and enjoying herself. Despite everything that is going on, he's the only one that gets her to relax, even for just a few minutes. Abby and Callian are another friendship on the show that are worth mentioning. Two first officially meet when Abby wakes up from being shot and finds herself in the tribe. Callian explains that he found her with a gun wound and brought her here to save her life. We later find out that it was Callian's sister's spirit that led Callian to Abby in the first place. When Abby is well enough to travel, Callian takes her to Independence and introduces her to his friend and Deputy Sheriff Augustus. Because Callian cares about Independence and has a newfound trust within Abby, he also agrees to join the group. Callian and Abby have a very loyal and trusting friendship, so when Callian is put on trial for murder, Abby agrees to defend him, no questions asked. Despite how everything looks, Abby still believes that Callian is innocent and does everything she can to prove this. He is indeed proven innocent, but the trouble does not stop there, unfortunately, for poor Callian. Not only is he having identity issues between the town and his clan, but with a new chief wanting to go to war, things are only heating up for the worse. Things only get worse for Callian when he finds out that the land that him and his tribe are living on are going to be bought to make way for the new railroads. When Abby hears about this, she assembles the group. The group then work together to con the meeting and sell the railroads a separate part of land, therefore buying Callian and his tribe more time. I really enjoyed Abby and Callian's friendship and thought it was worth mentioning, as they have a very genuine, loyal and trusting friendship. Hewitt and Callian shared a nice bromance throughout the series. It didn't always start out this way though, as Hewitt didn't trust Callian and still saw him as more of an outsider. Hewitt was still forced to work with him, however, as Abby trusted him and they were the only 3 members of the group to start with. With both of them working towards the same goal, Abby reminds them that if they want to succeed, they need to learn to work together and trust one another. It takes time, but seeing as there is no other way, they do eventually learn how to work together. Hewitt learns to open up and trust more, while Callian expresses that he sees a potential in Hewitt that he may not even see for himself. Due to their close proximity and working together, they form a trust that then ultimately grows into a genuine friendship. Augustus and Callian have one of the longest running friendships on the show. They first met when Augustus was fighting in the war. He was injured and Callian came across him. Once he realized that he was not a threat and was suffering from battle wounds, Callian decided to help him instead. Callian was the one that took him to the town of Independence and introduced him to the people. He was also the one that recommended to the old sheriff that Augustus would be a good fit in the community. This is how Augustus ultimately got the position of deputy sheriff. When Thomas introduces the new sheriff in town, Augustus is forced to work under him as the deputy sheriff. Callian feels as though he needs to test Augustus's loyalty to see if he is still trustworthy. When he finds that he is, he introduces him to the rest of Abby's group and fills them in about their plans on Tom. The two work together and swap information for the better of the town. Augustus is the one that comes to Callian about information on his sister and convinces Callian that he should follow up this potential lead. Augustus is the one to go with Callian to find his sister, and Augustus is also the one to offer Callian closure when things don't go as he thought. These two share a very open and trustworthy relationship that is always nice to see represented on screen. Last but not least is Abby and Tom. Their relationship was the most surprising out of all on the show. When I first stepped into it, I thought that there was going to be more of a love triangle between Abby, Hewitt, and Callian. I was way off, however, as it was actually Abby and Tom that formed a relationship. Their relationship was surprising yet interesting and runs a lot deeper than you would first expect. Allow me to explain. First, I want to talk about Abby's perspective on the relationship. When Abby first arrives in town, she is obviously still devastated from the loss of her husband. Finding out that it was none other than the sheriff that did it, she wants nothing more than to get rid of him as soon as possible. She quickly comes to realize that it is not that simple and that there are a lot more secrets hidden than she first expected. After learning Abby's smarts, Tom offers her a job in the sheriff's office. This allows Abby to access key information for her investigation. However, it also forces her to spend more time around Tom. This is where she starts to care for him, whether she realizes it or not. When Abby finds him on the verge of death after being stabbed, her first instinct is instantly to save him. It's not until after he is well that she starts questioning her decision. Things get even more complicated when Tom expresses his gratitude to Abby about saving his life. He expressed how thankful he is that Abby saved his life and told her that she seems to be the only one that cared and that no one, including his family, came to visit him or cared whether or not he lived or died. This is sad to hear, as we know that Tom only took this job out of obligation to his family in the first place, and to think that they only see him as collateral. Things only become more conflicting for Abby when a dust storm descends upon Independence. Tom and Abby take shelter in the bar together and are forced to remain there together until the storm has passed. While stuck together, they come to learn more about one another. Abby plays the piano for him. They dance together and they even have a drawing competition that I found super cute. With all this build up, it may not come as a surprise to some that they spend the night together. Due to this, Abby has come to feel some conflicting feelings about Tom. She cares about him, but ultimately knows that he still needs to pay for what he has done. Things only get more complicated for Abby when she finds out Tom's side of the story. Now, we already know that Tom had a past lover and that his family drove her away, and now due to this he has never quite been the same. Tom explains to Abby that the first time he saw her wasn't at the sheriff's office in Independence. He saw her in Boston for the first time when she was still packing up, getting ready to leave for Independence with her husband. When Tom first saw Abby in Boston, he did not realize that it was Liam's wife and most likely believed that he would never see her again. This is why he found it okay to leave his own version of a message for her. While watching Abby pack away her things, Tom becomes instantly fixated with her, and she leaves her carriage to continue packing up other things. Tom makes his way over and looks at the book that she is currently reading. Whilst there, he underlines a quote reading, "You are a dream with my eyes open." He underlined this quote specifically as this is how he feels when he looks at Abby. He leaves the book open where he marked it for Abby to find whether or not she understands the meaning behind it. When Tom is approached by his family to follow Liam as they suspect that he is not following through with the plan anymore, he is devastated to find out that Abby is a part of that group. Now feeling conflicted about how to handle the situation, as Tom does not want to go in there guns blazing and kill Abby, yet he still has to do what he was asked to do. Whilst trying to figure out the best course of action, he follows them and watches over her instead. By watching her from a distance, Tom gets a good idea of the kind of person Abby is. He sees the way that she treats other people and the kindness of her heart. He also comes to love her passion for the piano and the music that she makes with it. He followed her for that long and became so fixated in the music that she was creating that he even learned that he come to learn her song off by heart. He became so fixated with her music and her song specifically that he not only memorized it, but continued to sing it when he arrived in Independence as well. As a matter of fact, he sang it that much and that often that even Augustus learnt the song without even realizing it and started humming it around town himself. This is where Abby heard it when she first arrived in Independence and was confused as to how they had found it, as she had never been there before, and it was her original song. Abby is understandably shocked when she hears Tom's side of the story and causes her to feel more conflicting feelings about Tom. This is why it's symbolized that even after he is arrested and taken away, she still thinks of him, just as he still thinks of her. As I have expressed earlier, I came to really like Tom and Abby's relationship, and even more so once finding out Tom's side of the story. The fact that he had such a weakness for her from the moment that he saw her, without even knowing who she was. The quote that he underlined for her in the book, "You're a dream with my eyes open," like that is so sweet, as he is expressing that she is his ultimate dream made into a reality. It's such a beautiful quote and an expression to feel about someone. It is very open and deep and surprising to have come from someone like Tom, especially knowing that he hasn't even met Abby yet. I really enjoyed watching them bond when they were stuck together due to the dust storm, the way that they got to know each other on a more personal level. Their drawing competition was really cute and fun bonding experience, as it was so unlike their usual personas. As I expressed earlier, I really enjoyed Abby and Tom's relationship and hoped to see more come of it in the future, as I feel that it has a lot of potential and depth to it. Overall, the show is really good and entertaining and has a lot of potential when coming in for a second season. It is good for anyone wanting to start a short series, as it only has 13 episodes to it so far. It is good for anyone looking for an old Western series, even someone that enjoys historical settings and representations, as this was set in the early 1800s. That is all for this episode. Please feel free to leave any comments discussing your opinions, feelings, and thoughts on the show. It is currently streaming on Prime, Apple TV, and Paramount+. Links to all will be below, along with my socials. Thanks for listening.